then that is deeply subversive.
Hello, welcome back to the P.O Box. Thank you for your patience, for everyone who's been waiting. We had some technical difficulties.
Yep, which you fixed.
We fixed it. And without further ado, I want to get done quickly tonight, so let's get straight into the film, shall we?
Okay. The Apartment.
The Apartment, starring...
4 out of 5. The end.
It's a thumbs down. The Apartment, starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine in 1960. It's a black and white film. I think it's considered a classic, maybe not like the most famous classic, but it's kind of visually, it's got its own design language, production.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to swap the mic to the good mic, so I don't know what you're hearing us through, but it probably doesn't make a difference anyway. I could swap it, but it's just gonna. Why don't you tell me what you thought of The Apartment while I swap the mics?
What, can they hear me as I do that?
They're probably just getting the wrong mic. They can hear you.
Okay. I know you're the one who made notes on it.
I did not make notes, but I opened some images. So I guess I should say that I watched The Apartment after you downloaded it like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
with a view to watching it. Discovered that it was over 2 hours long, and then in black and white. So
I downloaded it because I knew it was the kind of film you'd like, and I knew you hadn't seen it, so I just downloaded it as a sort of in the vault.
Yeah, well, it was the reason that we ended up pushing the button on it is because, I don't think I told you this. I saw a tweet by Peter Hitchens where he listed something like 18 films that he said were pivotal in explaining the situation we're in, which is a really vague way of. So I didn't know what he meant. I didn't know if he meant that this film was a symbol of what used to be, or it was a kind of allegory about the modern world, or if just taking it on its face value as a piece of art. I still don't know what he meant when he said that. But in this case, I'd seen like half of the films on his list.
Well, it's got infidelity and divorce in it.
Yeah, okay.
Something that Peter Hitchens likes harping on about.
Yeah, I think rightly so.
Yeah, I'm just saying, well, if he's talking about something like that, and this film has it, I don't know what else he's talking about. Yeah, office politics.
For anyone who doesn't know, by the way, speaking of infidelity and divorce, I have my husband sitting next to me. I think that's kind of obvious from the context that you're in my house, you're under my stairs, and we're sitting in this.
I'm sure the two people watching this are big fans and understand.
I think I was just going to make a joke about I don't think that you should be sitting this close to anyone who's not your husband. If you're not married, you need to keep at least a little more than a hand's breadth away. So yeah, for anyone who hasn't seen the film, I guess we'll have to spoil it. But before I'll kind of give an overview of how the film, the premise of the film is before going into spoilers and plot points, in case you really want to see it.
Yeah. Does anyone want to see it? Hasn't seen it?
I guess we'll see. I'm guessing
that's what the chat is for.
Yeah. I think there's only about, you said there's 12 people watching. So someone mentioned in the last stream that in my last ramen hour, when I mentioned the P.O Box, as a talking about it as a phenomena, someone in the comments quite kindly said, I know they're not big, they don't get many views, but I really like them. And that's exactly the kind of person that I make videos for. Like
that particular person.
Well, people who say things like that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite kind of videos and streams, is like where they don't have a huge audience and you can tell they're just making it for the love of it. That's what I enjoy. So that's why we're here, because I like talking to you about films.
Yeah.
And I like this film. I don't have like a really hot take or like a overall. How would you sell this
film to somebody who hasn't seen it?
The film The Apartment. It's called The Apartment because this character, Jack Lemmon, who you can see on this, Jack Lemmon is the name of the actor who plays this character. C.C. Baxter. Lemmon. I've already talked too much about this without explaining the plot. So this guy, he works in an office full of people who work in an office, like thousands of people who work in this huge building. It's a very,
I don't know, Incredibles was influenced by this. Yeah. It's got a very Incredibles.
But let me get the premise out of the way.
Yeah.
So he's a kind of he's a wage slave, drudgery office worker. And the only thing that's sort of remarkable or special about him is that he's a bachelor. He lives in this apartment.
He has an apartment.
He has the apartment that his senior members of staff, his bosses, the directors of his company use, they rent out from him. I don't think they even pay him. It's just that he's schmoozing up to these guys who are using
it's a favor, and he's expecting in return to be promoted or get a good name in for when the promotion comes up.
So these guys, what they're doing with the apartment is that they bring their mistresses back there, or just women that they meet.
Yeah, they pick. I think mostly it's just pickups. They just pick people up, and because they're not mistresses, they're people they've picked up and they got lucky. They need somewhere incidental that's always available.
Yeah,
in the city.
The way it's never like explicitly stated what the apartment is used for. Like it's for a film that's a very seedy subject, infidelity. It's never like they're never like getting into the mechanics of it or like discussing like exactly what it is they're doing.
It's pretty obvious.
It's very heavily.
They fairly heavily
without saying it. They say it
right at the start. He says, "Oh, I found her. Yeah, she looks like Marilyn Monroe."
Yeah. He's like, "I found an earring." It's like you know what they're doing. But the way that he says it when the CEO of the company,
are you selling this to somebody? You're just talking about things that happen. Why would you want to watch this? What kind of film is it? Comedy? Action?
It is a comedy.
Does it have a car chase at the end?
It does not have a car chase. I think it could be a play, as we discussed. It takes place in a few locations, and I'd say the sole crowning jewel of this film is Jack Lemmon, the actor, his performance. He plays this wonderfully charming, funny, yet pathetic Weasley kind of downtrodden character.
I think you could probably rewrite this film so it was just set in the apartment.
Yeah, like a play. Like it's all just a single.
Well, plays are often set in other places, but you could have this as a one set play, and just imply most of the things that happen could be. It
would be a kind of clever way to do it.
Yeah, it's a gentle comedy with a kind of quite dark edge, especially for effectively a 1950s film. They're a dark 1950s film. It's probably darker than you'd think from the general tone of the film.
It's got a very it's dark in the sense that none of the characters are really good. There's only different shades of bad in this film, where I think it really does sell what I was talking about in my last stream on Whammon Hour about this character, C.C. Baxter, played by Jack Lemmon. He's not a bad guy. Like you kind of like him because there's nothing malicious or ill-meaning about him. He's just kind of gently trying to get by. He's quite charming, a little bit goofy.
I mean, he's ambitious to the extent where you think he's found an edge. In that edge is that he can leverage his apartment by leaving his apartment and sleeping on a bench.
He makes himself temporarily homeless.
Yeah,
for a few hours a night.
That if he does that enough, he's going to get advantages and get promoted, so he doesn't have to do that anymore. That's his plan, which is it's the classic like what you wish for is what you once wished for thing, where his plan is executed, he does it, it's successful, and he gets everything that he wanted to get. But by the time he gets it, he's realized that isn't what he wanted.
Yeah, and he didn't like the way that he got it. So that's, I guess, the spoiler-free analysis of the film. I think it's funny, it's charming. It's long, but it didn't feel long, actually. I thought it was consistently entertaining and holding my attention.
I think it feels a little long.
All right, well, that's I guess that's a difference of opinion.
I mean, I've seen it like 3 times.
I thought this was your first time.
Okay. Why would I recommend it to you? I hadn't seen it before.
Yeah, I thought you just heard something good
about it.
No. Okay. I mean, he is C.C. Baxter is the good guy. He learns to be a mensch. That's the kind of arc that he goes on.
He has an arc. He's not like an arsehole at the start.
No.
But what he's doing is a bit, it's not heroic to rent out your apartment so other men can cheat on their wives.
And at some point, you get it.
It's not Luke Skywalker style. This guy is great, but he is charming. He is fundamentally a good person. He's just allowed himself to morally.
But I don't think that is a good person. That's what I'm saying. Is when you have to actually do the right thing instead of just going along with whatever is expedient.
Well, there's lots of different. He could. There's lots of different things he could be doing. he could be like murdering.
Look,
he could be murdering his bosses, or he could be like, arranging for these women to come around and then raping them.
All it takes for evil to succeed is for the whole world to be comprised of C.C. Baxters. Like that's all it takes for evil to triumph.
He is, he's not a perfect person, and
I mean that's what a film is about. It would be a journey of the hero going through some events, some conflicts that make him better. So now that we've, I hope we've sold the film. I guess we'll get into the actual driving plot of the film after we've set up this character, who he is, and what he's doing with his apartment. Apartment.
In a way, I guess you could say the thing he does is an interesting moral act in that he doesn't participate. It's like a cowardly immoral act.
Yes.
He doesn't participate in the infidelity whatsoever. All he does is he leaves his key to the apartment at a location, or gives it to, he leaves it under the mat, or he puts it in a box or something, and then he just doesn't go home.
Yeah.
That's like his immoral act is just to not go home and leave his key available to somebody else. And then he comes back home, no one's there, he tidies up.
I mean, he cleans up, he buys liquor, he
yeah, but he's not
he knows what's going on, and he's facilitating it.
It's does he know what's going on? He can kind of it's the fundamental nature of that character, isn't it? Or the archetype they're trying to draw is that he's not like, the bosses aren't asking him to take a call from their wives and say that he's not there.
He doesn't have to lie to anyone.
He just doesn't go home, and that's it. And he gets an advantage from it. So he pays a penalty in that is inconvenient for him and unpleasant for him to not go home. But he doesn't actually actively do a moral act, or he can definitely cope. That's his coping position.
Well, there's a lot of cope, I want to talk about this scene. I don't know if this is the first scene, but the scene where Baxter meets up with his boss. I can't remember his name now, the name of the boss. He's like the CEO of the whole company. And he gets called into this guy's office, and he wants to know, there's all these keys going around. What kind of racket are you running? I run like a moral business. Like I don't want to hear about anything seedy going on. So I thought that was a really nice scene where Baxter, he's got a cold. He's kind of literally sniveling. Like he's got this like tissue. Yeah. He's got like a really bunged up nose, and he's trying to explain himself. And he talks about how the first time it happened, someone needed somewhere to change into a tuxedo before a show. They just needed somewhere to get changed and then go to a show with their lady. And he says, once word got around, once you say yes to one guy, you can't say no to another.
Yeah.
And you get this story about, now everyone's changing tuxedos in my place. Like this is the like euphemistic way. Like I don't know if he might even be telling himself this. Like this is what they're doing. I doubt it.
Well,
this is the like cover story he's running.
He doesn't ask them what they're doing. I think when he gets calls with that guy saying like I've picked up a woman in the he's like, I need to come
she looks like Marilyn Monroe.
I'm trying to think of like if he's especially uncomfortable with that, or
he's uncomfortable because he's just taken a sleeping pill. He's about to go to sleep and he doesn't want to get out of bed, and that's really like the last straw for him. Not the last straw, like he doesn't give it up because of that. But it's the lowest low that he gets to is having to get out of bed so this guy can bring a floozy back to his apartment. He has to just walk the streets for a few hours in the middle of the night. So he explains this to the boss, and the boss explains without saying it without saying it. I want in. Like if you let me use the apartment too, then
I think he literally says it in the end because he doesn't pick.
He's pretty dense, isn't he?
He doesn't pick up on exactly what's going on, and then he realizes that.
Yeah, the audience realizes before Baxter realizes that Sheldrake is not. He's not a wholesome, good, moral, upstanding guy. He's actually just as seedy as the rest of the guys who work at this company, and this is the kind of guy he has to get in with to get. He gets a big promotion from doing this deal with Sheldrake.
It's never really clear what he gets the promotion for, because the 4 sub bosses like get together and like have a conversation with him as well. And at some point before I guess it's just a compliment to all those. The boss is agreeing that, like, yeah, let's just promote him, whatever.
This is him getting promoted. He shoves all the stuff from his desk onto one little placemat and carries it out of the room with his little self-satisfied smirk on his face. And I want to say something that is literally unbelievable. There's some trivia that we heard about this film.
Oh, the children.
Which is that there's some forced perspective in this huge office block. This is not a real office. It's a set that's big, but it's not quite as big as it looks because they've used a forced perspective. They've used small things in the background to make it look like they're even further away. And that the people working at those desks are children in suits to make them look.
I really
further away.
I feel that was a joke, like the Billy Wilder made in an interview once, and they didn't read it as a joke, and it became like that's what they did because it's not really that big a set.
Well, speaking of which, as a quick diversion, that commentary that we heard that fact from, that factoid, whether it's true or not. Do you know who was doing that commentary? Because it's not. Crazy. It's a 1960 film. It's not someone who worked on the film. It's just a film.
That's way off.
That's the best commentary. It's just like a film nerd talking about a film.
Commentary tracks, if they're from old films, they tend to be from critics.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. He wasn't too pretentious. He introduced like a few principles of storytelling, principles of filmmaking. That was really good commentary track. It made me want to watch the entire film again with the commentary like a day later. So that was worth it. So yeah, he gets promoted, and oh no, what does he lose in the bargain? Well,
I mean, you're missing the entire setup because very early on we're introduced to the female love interest, or what becomes the female love interest.
When she comes in, I didn't recognize Shirley MacLaine, so I didn't know she was going to be the female lead. I thought it was just a woman in the lift. This is the elevator. Like, she's not really, really beautiful. She's got this like short haircut. We're not told why she cuts her hair. It's just something that
I mean, it's fair, I mean, it's somewhat obvious that like he's talking to her. He's clearly interested in her.
It's the one woman who he's talking to. In the film.
She's a recurring character in the film in that she's in the elevator. I wonder if the elevator is meant to be a metaphor because she rides the elevator.
She's going up and down.
He's going up the elevator, but he's not staying on it.
Because being promoted is associated with going higher in the building.
Yeah,
he has to encounter her at every pivotal moment.
Yeah, I don't think it quite tracks, but it is an interesting decision to make her.
She's a gateway guardian.
They could have made her a secretary.
Yeah. She's like,
so I wonder what the deliberate choice was to make her.
She's even lower than a secretary.
Okay, that's the point. Okay.
Maybe. Or
that's completely right because she says that's a recurring motif, isn't it? That she failed the typing. She can't spell. So she has to be this.
And they say that all the guys tried on with her. Like this building is just full of perverts who want to cheat on their wives, I guess, or guys who are just trying to get laid or get married.
I guess they're similar as well because they're both at low positions and they're both using immoral acts to try and get higher on the social climbing.
Yeah. Well, you've revealed it before you've revealed it, but so the elevator girl Fran, she is revealed to be the paramour of the CEO, Mr. Sheldrake. CC Baxter, he's got a little crush on the elevator girl.
It's interesting how it's introduced because it's introduced that she's not.
Yeah, so they say, everyone's tried it with her, and nothing works.
That she was going with him, and because he wouldn't divorce his wife, she broke it off with him like 6 months ago. And now Sheldrake wants the apartment because he's got tickets to something, or he thinks that she'll go on a date with him.
Yeah.
She isn't enthusiastic about it because she agrees to go on a date with what's his name? I forget his name.
Bud Baxter. Bud is his nickname, but
he keeps so like he asks her on a date, and he does unknown to him. He asks her on a date the day that he's going on a date with the boss.
Yeah.
And she's not super enthusiastic about going on the date and says, I'll probably cut it off early and I'll come see you. And he's left out in the rain waiting for her to come because she doesn't come. And
what we find, it's quite a sad little scene of him waiting at the movie theater while she's at dinner with Sheldrake. And they describe what happens it's a very elegant exposition scene where they're breaking up. She's explaining how they had this affair while Sheldrake's wife was out for the summer.
Yeah.
Like she summers away in Europe or something for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And that was an opportunity for this affair to start. But now that the wife was back and she was feeling bad about it, it's just over. So Sheldrake's got an opportunity. The apartment. Now he doesn't, they don't have to go to his home. He can, they can be in this little safe apartment of their own. And they'll have somewhere secret to go. And so as if that making it safer for Fran will make her feel better and he'll win her back. And she is in love with him.
Yeah, well, he also says that he will get a divorce.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, which is like the magic words for her. Like she can, even though she probably knows that's not true, she at least is, like he knows he's completely manipulative in that he's purely saying that because he knows that that's the only leverage he has over her. If he say he's going to try and get divorced to be with her, then she'll go to this seedy apartment and have sex with him. Yeah.
It's he's really he's portrayed to be a very underhanded, manipulative character. Like he does seem to have some genuine feeling for her, but you get the impression that the divorce is just a carrot that he's dangling in front of her, and he really doesn't have much remorse about what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean that's confirmed as the film goes on.
But still, I feel like the film is trying to let Fran off the hook because she broke it off. She wants it to end. She doesn't want to see him anymore. I do feel like the film thinks that redeems her somewhat when really...
I think they're not trying to redeem her. I think they're trying to make her so that she's at least partially empathetic to the audience. Yeah. If she was painted as having a flat out affair with this guy and didn't care whether he got divorced or whatever, the fact she broke it off because he wasn't serious kind of makes her like a flawed character. Like the fact that she agrees provisionally to go on a date with Bud. Let's
move the plot along. Because I don't want to. I guess we'll go through the plot, but this is the kind of pivotal. I guess it all happens on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. There's an office
because it carries on. Oh yeah, I mean this isn't the.
This is Christmas Eve, isn't it? When he's giving her the $100.
There's a whole. There's the Christmas party.
Yeah, that's Christmas Eve.
But does he get a present on that day?
Yeah, no, they meet there after the Christmas party.
Because isn't giving her the money the I can't remember which, because she both finds out that
I don't think
he's had lots of them. I
don't think we have to get every single plot line right, but at the party she finds the secretary at the party. She's a little bit drunk.
She's the first. She
reveals that she used to be Sheldrake's lady.
Yeah.
And that he just does this every 6 months with a new woman.
Yeah.
Which makes her feel terrible. Like, this guy's not serious about her. He's really not going to get divorced. And she's just been another floozy, like another notch in his bedpost.
Yeah.
And I guess in some way it's a bit redeeming because she's not some home wrecker. Like that home was already wrecked. So
yeah, that does.
It kind of takes responsibility off her a little bit. But so it's Christmas Eve. She gets Sheldrake a record from the Chinese restaurant that they eat. It's like
it's a
guitar song.
Some kind of thoughtful.
If I could think about it for a minute, I'd probably remember the tune, but I can't right now.
Yeah, that's important.
And he forgets to get her a present, or he can't be bothered. Or
gives her something better than a present, which is cash, which she didn't buy anything with.
He gives her $100, and it's like this horrible moment where it's highly suggestive.
Put a deposit down for a house back in 1960.
It's a lot of money, but it has all of the appearance of like prostitution. That's what it looks like. I don't know if that's what made her feel bad or if she just felt bad. Like she realizes not only is this guy, been cheating on his wife for ages with loads of different women, but he doesn't even care about her.
Probably PMS. She's probably just going to cry anyway.
And this is
a nice present.
And Baxter knows that it's her now. I think did he find out? You could cracked mirror. It's I should say, like the screenwriting in this film is very, very elegant. Like the way the information is revealed. He finds out. He finds the cracked mirror in his apartment, and he gives it back to Sheldrake, saying, "Your lady left us here." And then this is a while ago when Sheldrake first uses the apartment. I said it. And on Christmas Eve, he uses Fran's mirror. She lends it to him, and he looks at himself with this stupid bowler hat.
Yeah,
it's got a crack.
It says that the mirror's cracked. He says, "Oh, yeah." He gives it back to Sheldrake, says it's broken.
Filmmaking.
So establishes that it's a broken compact mirror. It's a very like distinctive looking one, especially with the crack. And then later why does he give it to her? Because he's got like a
he's looking at he looks at himself with the bowl hat.
Oh, I see. He buys the bowl hat because he's feeling top of the world. He buys the bowl hat because he's now an executive and he wants a bowl hat, and like he thinks that she's available, and he's kind of chatting her up, and he's like really happy, and then suddenly he gets
the reverse. It's like everything he wanted. He
suddenly realized that he's been cucked.
And yes, that's the moment. And she's Sheldrake's woman. She's not this pure angel that has been refusing men out of virtue.
Also, he's been enabling it.
Yeah, and it's been in his apartment. So back to Christmas Eve, she gets the $100. She feels completely used by Sheldrake, and she feels like a bad person, I'm guessing. Yeah. And she takes sleeping pills. She takes Baxter's sleeping pills, which was set up at the start of the film. It's elegant. Like, you didn't need to set up this guy had sleeping pills, but it feels more complete when an element, especially a pivotal element like this, is set up earlier. He takes sleeping pills. He's got sleeping pills in his bathroom. She takes the whole bottle, and he comes back. Sheldrake's gone. She's asleep in the bed, and Baxter has brought his own woman home. He's finally hit it off with some floozy from a bar.
He finds up
on Christmas Eve,
a slam pig.
And she reveals that she's married to a prisoner, to a man who's imprisoned in a different country.
In the army. I can't remember. Yeah,
that makes it even worse. I mean, I thought he was in. I thought her husband was in prison.
For whatever reason, he's not around.
And so he's brought the slam pig home, and he finds Fran, the girl he had a crush on, in his bed, and he's going like, "Get out of here! Like, I don't like you anymore. Like, just shelter." But she won't wake up. She's taking sleeping pills, and we introduce this what do you call him, mate? A doctor.
Yeah, the Jewish doctor next door. I mean, he was introduced a lot. Like his wife was there.
Established. Yeah, we know who lives there. It's all very elegant.
He was like a comedic character.
Yeah.
That lives next door.
He complains that Baxter's having this like fun.
Yeah,
his neighbors think that he's the one bringing women home at late hours.
Yeah, which is a bit unlikely.
Yeah, like they never see.
They never see the other guy. Yeah, they're incredibly nosy. They know exactly what he's doing, but they've never noticed that it's completely different people coming and going from voices. But it kind
of works because the doctor thinks that Baxter's this playboy and he lives this immoral lifestyle. So when he gets invited in here because there's a woman who's taking sleeping pills, Baxter has to take the fall for it because he can't tell him that this is his boss's girlfriend.
Yeah,
and
I mean, he could.
Everything he's saying about Baxter being a sniveling worm and like having this like fast and loose lifestyle, even though he's under the wrong impression, he's still telling Baxter everything he needs to hear. Like, you need to buck up and be a man, be a mensch.
Yeah. I don't know whether he accepts the gigolo status because he likes the idea that people think he's a gigolo, or
the secrecy is part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
he can't tell them, "Oh, you're my boss's."
I mean, they've not. I don't think they like swear to secrecy. It's more of an implied. I mean, that doctor's not going to tell anyone, probably.
No, there's him in his bowler hat. Oh yeah, I had him off screen.
Nice JPEG.
Yeah, I know. It was hard to find high res, and on the stream it all looks the same anyway. So this is Sheldrake on Christmas morning finding out that his girlfriend has taken sleeping pills and she's in a very compromised state.
Yeah, I mean, going back,
she's not well.
They have to keep her awake for the.
Yeah, it's quite a fun scene. Like the high drama of the doctor slapping her in the face and then making her drink coffee and making her walk around the room for hours and hours just to keep her awake, so that then she can. Yeah, I don't know if this is medically sound. I guess before they had modern medical technology, this is what you had to do for people who had taken sleeping pills.
Do they pump a stomach? I guess it's off screen.
Yeah. It's too gruesome for cinema, but I think they say something like that. And Sheldrake gets the call from Baxter the next morning, and he is sort of mildly concerned, but like he's in a completely different world. He's in this massive house with his wife and his kid and his comfy. His comfy dressing gown and his presence, and he really does not want to leave there to go deal with his girlfriend.
I think regardless of what, even if it wasn't Christmas Day, I don't think he would go.
Yeah. So it's left to Baxter to clean up his boss's sloppy seconds, and they start this routine of acting like a cute married couple. They're living in this apartment together. It's no longer the seedy bed of infidelity. It's become this like cute.
She has
domestic.
To eat all the eggs.
She has to eat all the eggs, and this like famous scene where he's making her a pasta meal, and he calls it pasta. You know, in America, pasta. He's straining the spaghetti with the tennis racket because he's a bachelor. He doesn't have a colander. So it's just cute. He's charming. He tells a story about how this is like the most like redeeming scene for him. This is really funny, charming monologue where he talks about how he committed suicide unsuccessfully.
Wasn't it much later that he did?
No, I think it's like it's like it's during this part of the film.
Before the brother turns up.
Oh yeah. That's what interrupts the whole little faux marriage.
Because the excuse is that she has to stay put for 48 hours after. She's still very much like wobbly, like she can't go out. Go back a little bit. I did quite like. She leaves a note for Sheldrake.
Oh yeah.
And
you think it's a suicide?
You think it's a note or whatever, and like he asks, "Should I open it?" And he goes, "No." Then I don't know why he opens it. But he opens it later, and it's just $100. Yeah,
in an envelope. I mean, I find that it's so biting a moment, and I feel like it demonstrates a gargantuan restraint on the like. A woman committing suicide is like all the permission she needs to like go on for pages and pages. Like that's what I would do if I committed suicide. I'd write like a novel of a note. That's just such a like a woman thing to do. Like putting a note in an envelope and just sending that without any words is like that's like a movie maker's like way to commit suicide.
I think I wrote like Sheldrake doesn't really pick up on it. Yeah,
he doesn't get the subtlety.
She thinks, "Oh, that's a nice present."
I mean, if you're gonna die, why do you need $100 anyway? So this is like this is the part where I think you're supposed to really like them as a couple because they're getting along and they have this cute banter about gin rummy.
Like, immediately, way before this, like just him asking her out on a date, like there's a chemistry between them, and like I think you feel as a film watcher that like these two are. I think it's what gets the film kind of rope-a-dopes you because it starts off with like it's clear that these two people should be together, and it kind of makes sense that there's going to be like they're going to go on a date and they're going to fall in love kind of thing, and then it sort of hits you in the face with the fact that like she's with his boss and he's enabling that, but he doesn't know it. And then like he finds out about it, and it's all like everything kind of falls apart. And then this part is the kind of like reconstitution of that relationship post that. Like so it's the perfect relationship has been ruined here.
Yes.
Now it's just making the best of what's left. And like the relationship is stronger than this. The thing that's happened.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, the fact they are able, they've still got chemistry. They still like each other.
It's nice that he's looking after her, but there's something about it that just it's kind of like simp behavior. He's very gentle with her. She's just committed suicide. He doesn't want to upset her, but that kind of makes him come across as like overly harmless. It's something that's why it seems so domestic. He feels like he's not challenging her at all. He's just doing whatever he needs to keep her there.
I mean, it's she's just tried to commit suicide. Yeah. It's probably not the time.
I get it, but you kind of get the impression. That's why I made the thumbnail with the word "cuck" in it, because from this and then eventually spoilers, them getting together. It doesn't feel like the Hollywood perfect ending where these two are going to be happy together, because she's a fallen woman. She's been with she's used to being like the other woman to this boss guy. This is very assertive, like quite dangerous, like immoral guy, and you get the sense that Baxter is only getting as far as he is with her because he's completely uncritical about that, and he's not challenging her at all, to the point that thinking about them in an actual relationship, it feels like he's never going to be the heroic kind of the man, the mensch that he really needs to be, even though he does hand in his
that's the climax
his job
of
at the end
the film, or the completion of his mastering of both worlds or whatever. Is when he does he actually resign, or he just implied that he has
again, it's a really elegant movie mechanic. What do you call it? It's a little motif.
Yeah.
Where instead of giving him the key to the apartment, he gives Sheldrake the executive suite key. And Sheldrake goes like, "Hey, Baxter, you gave me the wrong key." And he goes, "No, I gave you the one that you deserve." Like he gives him a key to a toilet instead of his apartment. I guess it's basically a resignation. I think it's all but stated that that's what happens, and the final happy ending. The climax of the film.
Yeah, well, they both become menches in that she goes out on a date with him again.
Sheldrake says he really is going to divorce. Like he does divorce his wife. In fact,
his wife is divorcing he's forced to divorce his wife because
the wife finds out.
Yeah, the first woman,
the secretary,
gets pissed off. What causes her to finally?
I think she's just jelly. She's like mad Jill.
Did she find out that she tried to kill herself?
Because she's a secretary, she gets to hear all the phone calls, and she knows all about Fran. I can't remember exactly what it is, but she tells Sheldrake's wife.
Yeah. So they have a meeting off screen.
Yeah.
She proceeds with a divorce.
And now Sheldrake's got no choice but to marry Fran.
No choice. I mean, I still don't know if he'll actually marry her.
It's not really he's not really doing anything heroic by that. It's not a romantic.
He might not even marry her. He might still follow his passion of But at least he's got a more convincing "I'm going to get divorced" line.
Yeah. So she kind of goes back to their old Chinese restaurant to spend New Year's Eve with Sheldrake, and it's New Year's Eve, like, hey, Happy New Year. They get to midnight, and he gives her a little kiss on the face. And he says, it comes up in conversation that Baxter resigned from his job, and threw it in his face. And she realizes that Baxter was the real mensch all along, and Sheldrake is a immoral worm, and that she should be with Baxter. She runs out. It's like the ending of When Harry Met Sally. She runs out into the street. She runs to Baxter's apartment, and there we have the final scene of the film in the apartment.
He's all packed up because he's having to leave the apartment because he's lost his job.
I guess, yeah. And I guess it's like a sign that he's ready to move past that.
Yeah,
the apartment.
It doesn't quite make sense that he'd leave the apartment, but
metaphorically
he's leaving the apartment.
And they finish the game of gin rummy that they'd started.
And the champagne that was left there from somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a final little twist of fate when she hears the champagne cork go pop, and she thinks that he's shot himself.
I think that's a bit lame.
Yeah, it's like one last little jab at the audience, just in case.
Yeah,
we know he's not really going to kill himself, but it's kind of it makes it even sweeter that when she does walk in.
That would make a very good dark ending. she runs back and he's killed himself.
Just in time. If only I'd go here sooner. Yeah, it's a sweet ending. We had a debate. We had an argument about whether this ending was conclusively, unambiguously them getting together, because they don't kiss or embrace, or he says I absolutely adore you, Miss Kubelik.
Yeah.
And she goes she says, "Shut up and deal." She gives them, and they look at each other and they're just smiling and smiling. And he's dealing the cards and they're just looking at each other in their eyes, and that's the end. It's a really big climactic ending, and then it just stops. That's the
they don't kiss.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a bit I know what they were going for.
I think they were trying to be edgy. Like they didn't want it to be too sickly sweet. The ending, too obvious. They wanted it to be a little bit cooler than that. The Fran is just that kind of girl.
bet it does leave out the chance that she's just friend zoning him.
Yeah, right. I think
she's just
gonna go back to Sheldrake like later.
There's no without the consummation, at least via a kiss.
Or her Sheldrake looks around and she's gone, but she never throws a drink in his face or something.
Yeah, she
never says it's over. She just leaves. So really, that she's left that hanging as a possibility.
Yeah,
it's a very dark interpretation. I think that it's pretty unambiguous. They did get together, but
I'd say it's obviously leaning towards that. It's just an interesting choice that they
Dances with Incels thinks my interpretation is bad. Look, I get it. I get what they were going for, but there's something. I feel like Fran didn't. She commits suicide. She attempts suicide, but I felt like she didn't really go through enough bad stuff to make up for. If we're really to believe that Baxter is a good guy who's worth being with, then really she should have to do something to redeem herself to be with that good guy. But really, what it is that she's gone through this misdeeds. She's kind of a fallen woman, and he's just pathetic enough to be with. And so I'm kind of left with the feeling that both of these people are kind of terrible, and they're suited for each other in that sense, but they're not really going to be happy because they're both a little bit pathetic.
Yeah, but I mean they're both. Yeah, maybe she should have definitively. Yeah.
The way that he did.
Yeah.
Hand it back to him. Kind of it's over.
Did she leave anything behind? Did she leave the crown or something?
Yeah, the crown's there in her seat.
Okay, so I guess it's a little bit like that.
You think it's symbolic, she's his queen, and she's I don't want this.
It's
a paper crown.
Taking the crown. Well, it's a deliberate choice to take the crown off and leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I didn't just walk out for a second. It's sort of saying I've left you. But then, she left him before.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean,
that's what I mean.
I want to enjoy that. It's I'm too red pilled to enjoy films anymore.
I think the ending's fine. It is quite good. It's quite nice. Yeah. It's just there is a hint to it that because ambiguity is cool. All the cool like ambiguity, but.
She's a little pixie girl. She's actually got a pixie cut.
Yeah.
So it's she's too cool to say "I love you too."
She'll do
the cool thing.
Like I said, instead of if they wanted to be ambiguous, at least cut before they're about to kiss, kind of thing. Mm. Yeah. If you leave it she's rushed all the way back here, and then you sit down and then when are they going to kiss? Never.
He just opens the door. He didn't shoot himself, and
she walks into the apartment and the door closes behind him.
That is a good. I mean, I don't want to say that you're better than me, but that is a good ending. I like it. This is the apartment, and we're closing the door on it.
I mean,
the end.
Yeah. I think this end is
but they wanted to bring back the gin rummy that they started.
They set it up.
It was symbolic of their they started a relationship, but they never quite finished it. They never quite got there. So this is the rummy game that they were playing was unfinished business between them.
I just feel with a woman there's always you want to seal that deal. Are we just good friends?
Yeah, he wants to say to her, did you break up with Sheldrake? Did you say that to him? Can we go there together? Yeah, and I'll just see that you're not with him anymore.
Does she say that she's broken up with Sheldrake? Or does she just come back and just say let's play gin rummy? I love it.
I can't remember. It may be implied just because she's there on Christmas Eve and she's not with Sheldrake.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's for this character. I would just prefer it. He actually got a copper feel.
That's the ending you want. Is carries her into the bed and throws her on the bed.
I could easily imagine this guy hanging on and playing gin rummy with her for the next 3 years.
That's the kind of guy you think he is.
Yeah. So that's a track. If he doesn't have sex with her for the next hour,
he should whisk her off her feet to prove that he's a man now. He needs to fully dip her.
The trouble with this ending is that it leaves the door open to them playing gin rummy for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And him not doing anything. Yeah. I don't hate the ending. I think it's fine.
No, it's good.
It was only on my third watch where I was thinking about it that it's sort of I thought.
You're double thinking, yeah.
Yeah, but it's fine. It doesn't even in the worst possible interpretation of the film. The ending, I still think it's a good ending.
I think it's good. I think it's a very elegantly made film. Like I said, it's just that like I'm just a bit too red pilled. I can't enjoy love films anymore.
I mean, want to write on the red pill front. It is fairly subversive that it does establish, not establish. I doubt it's the first film, but it has the trope of the rich boss conservative man is actually degenerate. Like every single senior person here is a bad person, and the only way he becomes a good person is to give up the role of being in charge.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. That's I should put the deeply subversive clip on, but I can't bother. No, you're absolutely correct, and it also just perpetuates this. Even though it's a very like anti-infidelity film, like it's against that. It's by normalizing it, as the kids like to say, you're still kind of giving people the idea that everyone's doing it, and that like nobody's in a really monogamous marriage. Like you're just still kind of making it normal.
I don't know. That's like part of the fact they don't get together explicitly is just kind of saying like to get together is not a good thing. Getting together just means that
you're letting your impulses take over.
Where like he's only going to be cheating on her in 6 months. It's sort of is there any like positive couple? I guess the next door neighbor, the Jewish couple, are the only
monogamous couple in
the monogamous couple.
True.
What a strange coincidence.
And her brother-in-law and her sister, presumably.
Yeah, we don't see that relationship. They could,
but they're working class, so they're probably doing well.
I mean, it could be cheating on her.
Yeah, I'm saying like in the logic of the movie.
You don't even see the sister, do you, at all?
No.
It's just the brother. It's the brother turns up.
It's another perfect bit of acting from Jack Lemmon. Is the like it's just awkward. It's like a scene from Peep Show or something. The way it's like that kind of overly drawn out, cringy scene. Where the brother-in-law is like furious at him for what he perceives to be going on with Fran, like the suicide attempt and her being like not having premarital sex with this this pathetic guy, and they've got to just stand there in the room while Fran gets dressed together, and he's trying to make small talk.
What makes him punch him?
I think it's a typical like farce thing where he says something that gets misinterpreted or something.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is though.
I mean, neither. You've watched it 3 times. You told me. So, why do we think Peter Hitchens said that this film was pivotal in understanding? Is it just the decline of moral standards and the permissiveness of modern society that started around? Yeah,
I mean, I guess it definitely is part of the normalization of infidelity of marriage.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, the modern, I guess, what do you call it? Baxter represents the modern person who's just willing to turn a blind eye and passively accept infidelity. It's just something that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the film never makes a strong stand against infidelity.
They make it seem very seedy and not cool. They don't romanticize it.
I don't know. They kind of make it kind of like the people doing it seem to have a lot of fun. They don't really get a comeuppance.
The women that they're with don't seem really hot or really like very likable.
No. But
apart from Fran,
it just seems like it's a casual. It's like
just a bit of fun.
Well, the fact that every single married person in the film does it, and they never suffer any consequences. The only person that you could argue suffered consequences is Sheldrake, but he doesn't seem that.
He's not even that
bothered about it. It's just that's fine. Like, we're just going to get a divorce.
I didn't like her anyway. Now I get to be married to.
Which is another subversive thing. It's not. Yeah, the wife doesn't like try and do anything. She just immediately let's just divorce, and Sherlock is like, okay, let's just get divorced.
Well, this is something that the red pill guys say. I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard it said that extremely high-ranking, very wealthy men like Sheldrake or presidential candidates like rock stars, like none of them are faithful to their wives, and their wives know it, and they'll accept it because they get to be married to a rock star or a politician, or they get to be married to an extremely famous, extremely wealthy person, and the actual marriage, the actual commitment to each other is not really that important at that stage, because it's kind of like an unrealistic expectation to even want him to be monogamous. I don't know if it's true. Like I said, maybe that's just some subversion that comes from films like this, where it's just accepted that everyone's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's there is the, even if men want and can and do it, it's a different thing that society approves or tolerates that.
Yeah.
Like the fact, you can have it's better to have a society, even if it's true that men will just do it or try and do it. It's better to have a society that like disapproves of that. That pushes back against it, because it's generally a bad thing.
Makes it more difficult. It puts a higher cost on it, so that there's no apartment you can go to. It's too embarrassing to go to a hotel. People might see you. Like, just make it more difficult logistically.
Yeah, I mean,
and in your heart, it makes it more difficult.
They did mention that in this film, don't they? They say like they can't go to a hotel because the hotel you have to be registered and you leave like a paper trail. Yeah. So that's another reason why they're using this apartment, because it's on the QT.
I figured that Sheldrake was like a low-key celebrity, and he couldn't really go anywhere in public. I mean, they were in a Chinese restaurant together, so obviously it's not that bad. But being seen together, I assume, would be bad for a lot of these men.
I don't. It's just because like you have to prove infidelity, to get a divorce. I guess divorce was bigger. Divorce was more like a technical.
But to come back to what you were saying,
board game rule that you had to break. You had to prove that person broke the rules. So if you had hotels would keep those records for years
for a lawyer to pick up.
So you don't even have to go for a few hotels and just see, did this name of pop up here, and that's it. Like,
but do you think it would be less subversive? It would be better. Worse for Sheldrake's wife to try to patch things up, like to confront him about it and say, like, we're going to make this marriage work, like, you're going to stop seeing women. And I mean, obviously for the film it wouldn't work, because then Fran, she can't be dumped by Sheldrake, because then she can't redeem herself then.
I mean, I don't even know, do we explicitly know that isn't going on, and he is just
it's like hope, or
it's just like maybe she's like she wants to get separated, and maybe she's talking about divorce, but it probably won't end. Like, he hasn't actually divorced his wife.
Yeah.
So it's just currently it's just happening, or that's what he claims that it's happening. Is it just another way to get into?
Yeah, to string her along.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, I didn't get that impression. Like,
no, I didn't get that impression either. It's just
it sounds like he moved out of his wife's place.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, if he is, there's a big difference between getting divorced and being divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can stop. Yeah, especially in the 1950s or 60s, getting divorced was a lot of paperwork and a lot of things to go through. So, and the idea was that you wouldn't want to, halfway through you can just stop and go like, okay,
this is too bad.
Let's too much hassle. Let's just stay together for the kids or whatever. So it's wasn't it like, did you have to be separated for a certain amount of months or years? That's one way to get divorced
if you haven't.
I think it's currently, but I think back then it was.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, just to get divorced, you'd have to separate for a period of time.
We're getting off the film, but that's something that Hitchens talks about in The Abolition of Britain, is the fact that what does divorce even grant a married couple who are separated already? Like, you're living apart. Why do you need to get divorced? It's to get remarried. Like, that's really what divorce is. It's just permission to remarry, and for women, it forces your ex-husband to support you with alimony. If you're just separated, you don't have any money if you can't work.
Does get divorce get alimony?
I don't think you can get it with being separated.
I'm sure it's different in places.
Maybe, but Hitchens just simplifies it to being divorce is a permission to remarry. If you wanted to live apart, you could. You might have to live in a workhouse or something as a woman. If you're really desperate to leave your husband, you probably wouldn't be able to support an independent living for your family.
But the Baelish Project says that the film is absolutely against infidelity. That's one of its big messages.
Yeah, I mean, yes, obviously, but
is it?
To be against infidelity, you have to show a lot of it. Like, it's not just one case of it's not just one guy using his apartment.
I don't know.
Universally,
I don't know how it comes out as against infidelity.
Because his redemption is to no longer allow the infidelity to be happening in his apartment.
Yeah, I don't know that's not the. Yeah, it's not like he takes a moral stand against infidelity. Like he starts a newsletter about like stay.
Well, I think that's what I think that's what it is. I mean, it's unfortunate that
a certain interpretation that you could take of it, but I think it's more just. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, you could have the film where instead of this apartment, it's like the he's giving Sheldrake blowies under the table for a promotion.
Yeah,
and like at the end he says, "I don't want to do that anymore."
Yeah, he doesn't want to have a job that has that as a requirement.
The arc isn't that particularly important that it's infidelity. That's part of it, but it's more that he's subverts himself. It become he's a weak man at the start, and then he does things that are bad, and then at the end his arc is that he doesn't want he's willing to give up the good life to be a more moral person.
He wants to earn his way in a just world instead of having to claw his way in an unjust business kind of world. He wants to get
Bo says I don't think the infidelity doesn't end catastrophically for any one of the 4 sub bosses that I'm aware of.
They're not even revealed, are they?
No, you see them all. They're all together.
No, I'm saying that their wives never find out.
As far as the film is concerned, they have lots of fun.
They no longer use the apartment.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, they go somewhere else.
I'm sure they find somebody else to use the apartment. And Sheldrake is the only one that explicitly suffers anything, and it's fairly ambiguous how much he's suffering. He doesn't he doesn't take sleeping pills because he's getting divorced.
Yeah,
he doesn't seem to be upset about the fact he might not see his son again or anything like that.
He's a pretty stoic guy. You kind of who knows what's going on with him. You could make a sequel about what happened to Sheldrake.
I mean, he's just not a nice person. I mean, you don't see if the wife is happy, sad, or neutral about getting divorced. You don't see I mean, potentially they are, but like as far as the film coming down with a big message saying it's against infidelity, I definitely don't get that from my memory.
I think it is.
I think it's not.
Sheldrake is like a bad guy. Like unambiguously, he's the most rotten guy there is in the film.
Yeah, but there are 5 people that are infidels in the film. The 4 normal guys aren't really seen as bad guys. They're a bit like Han Solo, like it's a bit cheating on his wife.
Yeah,
they're a bit of a a thing about it.
I mean,
I guess there's a 6th infidelity, which is Jack Lemmon and the woman.
Yeah, the floozy.
And that doesn't consummate, but that has no.
Yeah, she'll find someone else.
Yeah, there's no strong morally coming down on her for that, or on him for almost doing it.
True. I mean,
So I don't think this film is like a massive screed on like pro infidelity, but I don't think it really comes strongly down on infidelity. I think you could, in the context of the early 60s, late 1950s, you could argue that it's pro infidelity in the degree it normalizes.
Just putting it on TV and even talking about it.
Put it on and having no disastrous consequences for any of the people. Yeah. If Sheldrake lost his job, like his boss found out that he was cheating and he lost his job for infidelity, then maybe you could say the film is sort of coming down on it. But he keeps his job. As far as you know, he's getting paid the same. He'll have to pay alimony maybe if he ends up getting divorced, because he doesn't get divorced. He's just starting the process of getting divorced, which even if he's lying about that isn't completely clear. So
they're portrayed as we should get Bayless on because he's practically part of the stream now, but they're portrayed as ridiculous buffoons. I mean, yes, they're not morally outstanding or charming fellas. They're very much not. They're kind of minor villains.
I was in minor villains. They're just they're buffoons. They're comic relief.
Yeah,
but they're not seen as they're not Hitler or anything in this film. It's setting. It's not like you're not booing and hissing at them. You're if you see them, you're chuckling. Their act when he picks up the Marilyn Monroe, that isn't the audience isn't clutching their pearls and thinking, oh my god, he's cheating on his wife. There's no scene. You don't get to see their wives. If you wanted to go on infidelity, you'd see their wives at home, phoning people people up asking where the husband are, like, and they're worried, and like the kid, you can see the kid there going like, "Where's Daddy tonight?" That would be showing the downside of infidelity.
Yeah, I think
in the film, it's like it's a kind of fun, like it's like getting drunk. You know, like you look a bit silly, you do some silly stuff, but it's kind of fun. No one gets hurt.
I think
it's just Jack Lemmon who has to sleep in the thing, which is played for laughs.
Yeah,
who gets the cold. Like that's what is the big downside of infidelity? Jack Lemmon has to sleep in the gutter, on the bench, and he gets a cold from it, which makes he goes around sniffling and taking aspirin.
Okay, I don't want to talk about this for much more than an hour, but I think what you're describing probably would have come across as preachy. It would be the 1960 equivalent of a woke film, where it's like, okay, come on, I get it. Like, stop shoving it down my throat. I know that cheating is bad.
Well, and it would be all down to execution.
Yeah.
And B, like, that isn't my point. I'm saying you should have done that in this film.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you think that this film comes down hard on infidelity, it really misses out on anything that could potentially make you feel bad for
other than her committing suicide.
Yeah, but that isn't infidelity. That's because she gave him a shit present. She wasn't sad because she found out that like $100. She's like, "Oh, well, your son is crying, like because you couldn't come home tonight." So she goes like, "Oh, I gave you a really cool present. You gave me $100, so I'm going to kill myself."
And the ex-girlfriends.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get the super chat out of the way and go. DRT, once again, thanks so much. He's given us $2 to say he's going to watch it later, and he's going to see us later on Whamming Hour. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone participating in the chat, Dances with Incels and Bayliss Projects, who apparently recommended this film, but I actually don't remember that. I must have subliminally slipped under my radar. Maybe you want to watch it. I'm going to get around to the recommendations at some point, but we do have a long overdue Columbo stream coming up, you and I together.
We're just going to watch some bad episodes, which I don't really fancy.
Yeah, we've got to trawl through a lot of bad Columbo before we can give a comprehensive review of the entire
series. There's 2 episodes. They're both bad.
Another upcoming.
They do is like completionist now.
I have a contract. I have an agreement with Pharaoh to do a review of Sleeping Beauty. We've been watching the sort of classic Disney princess films with our daughter.
Yeah.
And I thought Sleeping Beauty was like really, really good. And there's a lot of sort of symbolic stuff. We're going to go into some archetypal analysis, all kinds of good stuff. And also just artistically, it's an amazing film. So we're going to talk about Sleeping Beauty with Pharaoh. You can come for that if you want.
Okay.
And you watching at home will enjoy that, I hope. So that's your homework if you want to catch up. I'm sure you all know the story of Sleeping Beauty, so you won't be worried about spoilers. But if you want to watch it again, here's your permission to. It's great. Probably better than you remember with your little 6-year-old brain watching it on a VHS. It probably doesn't look that great, but get it in HD, and that's a great film. And I'm not telling you where to get it, but I'd rather you didn't get Disney Plus if that's where you're going. Try and find another way to watch it in HD. I'm not telling you how on Blu-ray. Yeah, buy the Blu-ray secondhand so Disney doesn't get any of your money. Or something else. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.